The sun is up, the day is wide open, and life still has so much to give. Every laugh, every step, every shared moment says the story is still unfolding beautifully. You are not finished yet. Your story continues.
Most people think life follows a straight line. Education, career, retirement. But for many, that line changes. Sometimes by choice, sometimes by circumstance, and sometimes by a moment they never expected. This is Not Finished Yet, a podcast about people who started again and discovered their most interesting chapter was still ahead. Each episode shares real stories of reinvention, the risks, the decisions, and what it actually takes to build something new later in life. Because the truth is, you're not starting from scratch, you're starting from experience. Can I just add that the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily reflect those of any organisations, employers, or partners connected to them. Before we start, a quick note. A large number of people who listen to the podcast haven't yet subscribed. If you find these conversations valuable, hit subscribe or follow on your platform. It makes a huge difference and helps us keep sharing these stories. Now, let's get into this week's story.
Okay, so should be recording. So just so I can get back into my frame. So whereabouts are you, Paul? You in?
No worries, Mark.
Yeah, you in California? Did you say?
I am, yes. So Central Coast, California, to be exact. Yes. If you've ever been out here, I'm a lot closer to the Monterey Bay Area.
Yeah, I do visit the States quite often. I've got a peatable coatings company that actually originated from in the US. And I've recently been over there for, I was in Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, and then round up to Vegas for a big show, and then up to New York for another show. We've got some distribution over there, so that's quite. But look, thanks for coming on. Hopefully we're picking up some traction. We've launched yesterday. I do another podcast just to let you know. We're in the UK, and it's more of a studio related podcast, and it's a different type of feel. So basically we were doing the podcast called Digging Deep. It's a construction related podcast, and from that what we found was, because construction was so bad in the UK at present and Europe, that we were getting a lot of people had to reinvent themselves. So hence why we've started this. But welcome to Not Finished Yet. I'm glad for you to come on, Paul. Paul is a former Silicon Valley product designer who anticipated tech layoffs and reinvented himself in his 50s, as a successful UGC and TikTok shop creator. So what we've been dealing with recently is we've been talking to a lot of people who have reinvented themselves. So not only has Paul done that, but hopefully he can give us a few tips on, once we have reinvented ourselves, how we can get up and going and where you've been. So let's get start from the beginning, Paul. Let's call it the early warning system. Where did you spent decades in tech? What were the specific signs that made you realise that the golden era of Silicon Valley was coming to an end? Because we all believe it was the golden haven over here.
Yeah. First, thanks for having me on, Mark. Appreciate you. I'm excited to talk with you today. And yes. So, you're right. Silicon Valley. So that's the majority of my career, right? So I grew up in the Silicon Valley. Of course, growing up there, you're gonna not get help but to be sucked into it. So I spent many decades working in tech. And the short story is, so I was working for the gigantic company Cisco, and basically I was working for the emerging technologies department, and ironically we were working on AI. And the more I learned about it, and I knew we were in trouble. And even my colleagues had started to discuss AI in general, and specifically in my department. I'm a designer by trade. I worked in UI UX, and for those that are not familiar, it's user interface or user experience. So I can design software, from the ground up, including not just the interface, but I can design the experience. So anyway, that's what department I was in. again, studying AI, and we saw it, the writing on the wall. And it took about 5 years before we saw doom. My entire department got let go except for myself. I was left behind, and I think that was really more for a knowledge grab. I was very upfront with my supervisor. I said, am I here for a knowledge grab, and am I next? And she was very kind and gave me the heads up. Yes, you should prepare. So, given that warning, I took that as an opportunity to decide that I wanted to do something entirely different. And number one, why did I not just go look for another job in tech? Number one, like you mentioned, I felt that because of AI and everything that I'm seeing in the background, especially people my age and Gen X, there were so many people getting laid off. And I didn't want to put myself into that situation. And number two, I really wanted to look for something that I ultimately really wanted to do. While I was working in tech, and I really loved what I did, it never just really fulfilled me, completely. And so anyway, I went looking for something else. I went looking for, everything from real estate, trying to open up an online store, everything, right?
Yeah, because I was going to ask you that. Why?
Yeah,
I was going to ask you, because of your experience, really. Why content creation then? Why not take that experience into consulting or a different VP type of role?
Yeah, exactly. And so, just like I mentioned, and this was a big discussion too with my wife, right? Because she was also asking me these things and asking me if I'm really sure why I didn't want to go back into tech again. Again, it's I really wanted to avoid being put in that position once again about being laid off. Again, I've had so many colleagues all around me, and it was happening everywhere, not just in the company I was working for, but across the board in the Silicon Valley. And I just did not want to go back to that type of situation.
Is that all AI? Is that all AI related? Redundancy?
I would say absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I think that on top of the fact that during the pandemic, there was a lot of hiring happening on, they just took on too many people. And then once AI started to take flight, a lot of those folks just started to lose their jobs, trimming the fat, as they say, around the Silicon Valley.
Before we go into the mindset, I just want to pick you on that, because recently, like a tourist, I was in LA, and I jumped in one of those autonomous vehicles, and I just thought, wow, it's not allowed in the UK yet. They're trying to look at London, and I just thought, wow, there's so many jobs. And then I heard the CEO of Uber turn around and say that he had 9.5 million people use the platform, and they just better go and retrain. I mean, in your opinion, is it, especially what we're about to talk about, content creation, do you feel vulnerable now more, or do you feel more control?
I do not actually. Yes, AI has penetrated content creation. There is definitely AI content out there, and it's also monetizing. People that are utilizing AI for even what I do, UGC and TikTok Shop, that content is there and it's monetizing. It's working. However, I feel that I'm not nervous about it because number one, still very much so, people are looking for authenticity no matter what, and they can see that it's AI. I think you've seen stuff and you automatically know just by looking at it, this is AI. However, it is getting better, right? It is getting better. But at this point in time, I'm not concerned about AI.
So how did you handle the ego shift from corporate product designer, which sounds fantastic, top of the tree, to a newbie creator?
Yeah, that journey was interesting. And let me kind of back up a little bit here and how I fell into this, right? So basically, I honestly wasn't looking to be a content creator. To tell you the truth, I'm more of an introvert. I was never, going around and being in front of the camera. To tell you the truth, that I found that part to be extremely terrifying. and it took me a while to actually get used to that. But anyway, let me not get too far off that. How I fell into it was basically I was editing family vacation videos, just for fun. And something was clicking there. Something was clicking. I really enjoyed it. And then fast forward, I was scrolling on TikTok, and a lady named Megan, and she's a UGC coach. I ran into her, and she was talking about how Gen Xers have a superpower in UGC, and that brands are looking to hire people that are Gen Xers and above, older millennials, Gen Xers, and boomers actually, because there's a lack of content creators in that age group. And of course, everybody has an audience, right? And so anyway, I decided that, hey, let me check this out. I think, I know how to edit. It's not going to hurt. It was not a big investment to learn. And once I got into it, I just became absolutely obsessed. I just kind of felt that it was, what I say is the sum of my life. And so I have a background. I went to school for advertising. I actually have an advertising degree. In my stint in all of Silicon Valley, I've worked for marketing departments. Again, I'm in tech. I'm a designer. I'm editing. I have a background in music. So as you can see, all these different things in my life are all coming together in this one beautiful thing called content creation. And it just felt like it was just meant to be. And I just absolutely became obsessed and fell in love. So anyway, because of that, because of my absolute passion for it, basically, I quickly became very successful as a UGC creator. And fast forward to today, I look at my portfolio on the website, and I can't believe I worked with, on these gigantic campaigns, working recently with Microsoft, M&M, Candies, not Eminem the rapper, but M&M, Candies. I've worked with Harry and David, HelloFresh, QVC. I've worked with such gigantic companies, and the experience of working with these large companies and seeing myself, right? Seeing myself in these ads as I scroll through Facebook or Instagram or TikTok it's still surreal to this very day.
So how do you think your background in product design helped you create better UGC content?
Oh, yeah, that's a wonderful question. It has given me some superpower, actually, just being in tech alone. So everything is data driven, right? And let me give you an example how I'm leveraging all of the experience I've had in tech to what I'm doing right now in TikTok Shop. So in TikTok Shop, it's all about putting your content out there and just seeing what works, right? And I'll give it let's say I publish a video, I'll give it a week, and then I look in the back end and I can see all these statistics, right? Average watch times, click through, all the analytics. And based on the data that I'm learning, I go ahead and start making adjustments to my videos. And I can redo a same script of video over and over again, aiming for perfection to keep getting those analytics better and better and better. And so that's, if I didn't have that background in the past, being in UX, because that's what it's all about as well, testing, right? All about testing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be struggling. A lot of beginner content creators.
Because I look at one of our channels and I can't work it out myself. We'll get into TikTok in a second, so I don't want to take the thing, but I get 180,000 views on one, then I get 700 on another, and then I get one that goes to 80,000 and you think that subject wasn't that good, but it seems to get the interaction. It's such a minefield for someone like me, and because there doesn't seem to be much rhyme or reason to it. I'm sure we'll get into that. But before we do, you mentioned Gen X as an advantage. Is it the work ethic, the communication style, or is it just the financial stability that gives that success?
Yeah, I would say so. Number one, the number one reason why there is a demand for Gen X creators is the lack of them, like I mentioned earlier, right? So there aren't too many people, our age and that are Gen Xers that we didn't grow up with these mobile phones, right? We didn't, and so it obviously we're not just going to always be tending to look to become content creators as a profession. We're just not, right? And so because of that lack of a number of content creators, but there's Gen X audience, and being the big spenders, right, in our economy, we need people that are our age on these screens talking to our own age, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
In the videos, like for example, like would you buy products for somebody that is younger like you? Gen Xers are not likely to do that, right?
No, that's true.
We will, yeah. But however, interestingly enough, younger generations will respect older people and will purchase products, with Gen Xers on these on the content or these ads.
Well, so you're talking about joining older to new technology. What corporate skills are actually useless when you started on TikTok?
What corporate skills are useless?
Or maybe what people, because they think that they're a business owner, what mistakes do they make? Maybe.
I think that I wouldn't say that nothing is all the things that I've learned being in a corporate environment are useless. They've become more of an advantage actually, because we are likely to look at it more as a business versus a hobby, right? Like something fun to do, right? And so we're able to think about it analytically. And anyway, that's my perspective, and that's the way I look. I've always looked at content creation from the very beginning. My approach was always business first, right? Because I'm now a full-time content creator, and I had to take it seriously. This is how I make my money. This is how I make my living. So, everything that I've learned in the past, I'm utilizing now across the board.
Because the interesting thing there for those people reinventing themselves at the moment, is that age generation. It seems such a young kind of arena to work in. So, what differentiates you? Why do you think that you're getting success? Why is it not just a young person's? Is there a difference in styles that we relate to? I don't know what the question I'm asking really, but do you get what I mean? What's the difference?
Yeah, that's a very good question, right? And actually, that was one of my fears getting into content creation is, how do I, how am I going to look where this field is dominated by people half of my age, right? Again, once I got into it and realized that the demand was there, meaning that brands were reaching out to me constantly. And to this very day, right? To this very day, they're constantly reaching out to me to have collaborations with me, to work with me, because they know there's such a lack of content creators that are our age. And the audience is huge for, not only Gen Xers, millennials and boomers as well. And interestingly enough, because I don't look 51. I'm 51 years old. I don't look 51. So a lot of brands tell me that. So the brands tell me that I actually speak to a very wide audience. So I've been using that to my advantage as well. Sometimes I'm even they don't believe that I'm 51.
Well, yeah,
they don't believe I'm 51.
I'm going to get a few comments from people that I know because I'm 55 and you're 51. So there's a massive difference there, especially in the hair, fantastic. But what mistakes did you make early in your reinvention that others can avoid? Any tips for that?
Yeah. Mistakes, I would say, I think not really a mistake, but I think that I just needed to be more confident. I think in the beginning, like I said, right, I was like, oh my gosh, I was really unsure about where I stood in the sea of young people like half my age. But very quickly, Once I started to work with brands, yeah, that went away very fast. I say one tip is a lot of people our age are not used, like I said, are not used to being on camera, right? We're not used to doing this. That fear uh, that fear went away real quick with repetition. Just being in front of the camera all the time, it's just like anything else, right? It will go away. But yeah, that was also a huge challenge to me, just because, like I mentioned earlier, I'm an introvert. So, but yeah, I can imagine that's going to always be hard for anybody. It's just not natural for a lot of people to be comfortable in front of the camera.
But it's natural now for you because you pulled it out and practiced it. Yeah.
I'm in hundreds of ads. I'm on TikTok Shop multiple times a day. Like I'm beyond used to it at this point. It's just something that I do.
So
I don't mind at all.
for those of us who, as you said, we weren't brought up with the mobile phone. Before I get on to like winning at TikTok, over 50, because that's where I'm really interested in to understand. I want to understand why you chose TikTok in a way compared to some of the other traditional mediums, or do you use all the mediums that are out there? Because if I'm getting into social media for the first time, I'm thinking, oh, do I have to bit of Snapchat, bit of Instagram? What do I have to do? Why did you choose TikTok?
Yeah, so let me explain first what it is that UGC is, because I don't think a lot of people know what it is. So UGC stands for User Generated Content, and it's basically the new form of advertising, right? And everybody's seen it. It looks like influencer content. However, they're the new ads, right? And so they pay people like me. They'll send me out their product, and I basically create a script around it that is authentic, or maybe not. They're more closer to a commercial, which is where my style ends up to be. I'm kind of in the middle between traditional UGC and traditional advertising, but our generation likes that. The younger people prefer selfie style, raw. Everybody's seen it, raw, not highly edited. But I think people, Gen X, older millennials, even boomers, they don't mind, ads, basically. They don't mind it. So that I found some success in doing that type of style across the board. Now, so there's there's UGC, and then there's TikTok, right? So TikTok Shop actually is what I work in, and I'm basically an affiliate creator. So I will take a brand, and currently I'm pushing a lot of brands in the health supplement area. And because of the way I look, a lot of the brands that are interested in working with me are really like more anti-aging, right? Like the beauty, men's health, facial stuff, right? So that's what I push. So the brands pay me commission based on what the consumer clicks through and buys based on my video, and that's how I make money on TikTok Shop.
Do you pick and choose then? Is there a particular type of sector that you feel that you have to work with and ones that you don't?
Yes, that's a great question. So TikTok Shop now is very much encouraging all TikTok Shop creators to what they call verticalize. And it's just a fancy word for niching down. And so I've niched down into the health supplement category. And the reason why I chose that is because it's evergreen, right? It's not seasonal. Everybody's looking for it. And the market is just absolutely huge. So of course, if I want to make that big money, this market. So interestingly enough, I just learned this, right? So let me give you an idea of the TikTok Shop economy. Globally, it's $64 billion globally, right? In the United States alone, it's 15 billion and projected to be 20 billion by next year. So I'd love a little sliver of that. And so that's why I'm here. TikTok Shop is, to me, the future of social commerce. it is a force that will be completely unstoppable moving forward.
So if I wanted to sell, I don't know, training or anything outside of that kind of big boom supplement thing, should I look at that or any other products? What products would you keep not do on TikTok Shop?
Yeah, so that's the wonderful thing about TikTok, right? So TikTok is fairly new, right? TikTok is fairly new to the United States, and I mean it's just wide open. You can choose anything, right? You can choose absolutely anything, just as long as it's for sale on TikTok. You should go for it. But I think that the most important thing, right? And I keep mentioning authenticity, right? You have to have some sort of interest in it. Otherwise, people can tell, as they scroll through, they can tell that if you're actually really interested in this product or not. So stay in a niche that you're actually interested in, the products that you're interested in, and you'll do much better. So let me tell you why also, why I'm in the supplements health category is because recently I've taken a huge interest in biohacking. And in fact, I became a certified longevity coach, which basically means that my clients help me to help them lead happier, healthier, prolonged lives, or as they say, to age in reverse. Because of that interest, I decided, hey, I already, casually already looked for this type of information. So why not utilize, this knowledge that I already have? And bring it onto TikTok Shop, and it's worked out pretty wonderfully for me.
Do you have to do that? Do you have your own TikTok yourself, Paul Paulino, or do you have you can just see you on the shop? How does that work?
Yeah, so what I create are called shoppable videos. So there's two ways actually that you can monetize as a TikTok Shop creator. So shoppable videos, which is basically create a recorded video of yourself. And within that actual video, you can place a link to the product, right? So you come with strategy. There's obviously this is very much sales, and your goal is to have that, that viewer click on that cart and make a purchase. That is ultimately the goal. Now there's a new thing called TikTok Shop Live. I'm not sure if you have that out there in the UK. But it's absolutely huge in China.
Yeah.
And I've been paying attention to that market for a while now. And now there's a huge push. Now that TikTok is here in the United States, there is a huge push for live creators. And in fact, that is my next challenge to myself. I'm now in motion to become a TikTok Shop live creator.
Yeah, there's... For the UK, I don't know over here, but for the UK listeners, there's a documentary at the moment from a personality that everyone knows called Ben Fogle, and he's doing Ben Fogle China, and that's exactly what he goes to see, and he sees these live TikTok shops, and they're selling absolutely everything, and they're 24 hours a day, and they literally high five each other. One leaves and one comes in and starts selling something else. It's phenomenal what's going on there. But look, so how do we build trust with brands and audiences in an algorithm that often favours trending and young kind of feel?
Yeah, I think that again, it's all about authenticity, right? And every creator has an audience, right? You have an audience, I have an audience, right? It's not just for young folks, like I mentioned earlier, I don't think that older folks will be buying supplements from younger people. I just don't think that's rarely going to happen. So it's all about, everybody's having a particular market. And again, leveraging, your interest, right? The authenticity that you gotta come with that realness that TikTok Shop craves, right? It's very different from the meta platforms, Instagram or Facebook, where it's a little bit more curated. It's a little bit more, well designed and aesthetic. Where in TikTok Shop, they want you as raw can be. Right?
Yeah.
Mistakes and everything. Yeah, they don't care. They want you like like you're on a FaceTime call with somebody. They just want to be spoken to that way.
Is that
That's
because
the audience of TikTok.
is that because it's a different type of audience, or is it because they just want to stand out differently, or just make it different? Why is it different than
Yeah.
Instagram, for example?
That's an interesting question. I think that that's just what the platform is, right? That's who I think that's how it's been established, and that's what people are looking for. Where in Instagram, it's so aesthetic, right? Everybody wants to have pretty backgrounds, and everybody needs to have makeup on, and it has to have music and all that. But I think for the TikTok Shop audience, they don't really care about that. They know when they come to TikTok Shop, it's going to be more raw, more authentic, less curated, less aesthetic. It's just the expectation for that platform.
So, just a little bit more. There must have been a bit of a culture shock when you went from one to this. What was that biggest culture shock you experienced in the first 90 days?
Are you talking about the culture shock between the different platforms, or are you talking about the culture shock between?
From when you started, in the first 90 days, you decided this is what your way forward. What was the biggest culture shock, or was there? Maybe you was in tech and there wasn't one.
I think still being surrounded by a lot of young folks. However, now, I mean, with the demand, there's a huge rush of Gen Xers, older millennials, and boomers, content creators. In fact, I am headed to a conference this weekend, meeting all Gen X content creators, actually, where I'll be a panelist speaking in front of a whole bunch of people my age, content creators my age. So there's definitely a huge rush towards content creation for our generation.
Well, if I was there, I'd ask you a question. I'd say to you, how do you stay relevant and competitive without chasing trends or hype? Then,
I think you have to. I think at the end of the day, this is social media. You have to chase trends. But at the same time, you do have room. Let me back up a little bit, right? So there's a different approach to these, right? So the way you have to choose what kind of content creator you want to be. What I'm in is advertising at the end of the day, right? It's advertising and sales on the TikTok Shop end. But you can choose a career in content creation where, just like yourself, you can have a podcast, right? You can have a vlog. You can be on YouTube.
Yeah.
There are so many aspects to content creation. It's so wide open at the moment. So, you can trace trends, but you can also be a trendsetter. It's up to you, whichever way you want to do. There's just so many aspects of content creation. That's a little hard to answer that question. It just really depends on what you choose as your path within social media and content creation.
Okay, so getting to the end, let's look at hold on, what's going on there? Sorry, someone's just jumped in there. Cut that out. The intentional framework, the roadmap for others. What does reinvention with intention look like on a Monday morning then?
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, my journey has been something that has been completely fulfilling in very much a lot of aspects, right? Professionally, emotionally, spiritually, everything. Being able to control my own destiny, my own future has been the most valuable thing out of this entire thing. And just being able to do what I absolutely love and finding something that I absolutely love doing versus something that I had to do has been fulfilling in more ways than one.
So what's the very first step you think, this is more to do with advice for those listening, the very first step a Gen X professional should take today if they see layoffs on the horizon? What's your advice?
Yeah, I'd say, like I said, there's many aspects to social media and content creation. Have a look around and dive right in. and see if you like it. I think that where a lot of people end up kind of having, it's a hurdle that they put on themselves, right? If you don't try it, how do you know what's on the other side? So take that leap forward, give it a shot, try it out. If that part of social media is not something that you're interested in, try something else, right? There's so many different aspects of it. But social media is here to stay.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. So this is the future. And it's wonderful that, that I can have a job that's completely on the internet. It's just, what a time to be alive, right? Where I can be at home, be in control, run my own business, be my own boss, and thrive as a Gen Xer, where I thought all that I was ever going to be was a corporate worker. And here I am, a new business owner, not only running my stuff on TikTok Shop and on the Meta platforms, but I've created my own businesses around, content creation as well.
So how does your current success metric differ from the ones you had at Cisco?
Yeah, so look, at the end of the day, right, being a tech worker in the Silicon Valley, you do make a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
You make a lot of money. But at the same time, I found out that you can make even more, actually, on social media. And that was the biggest surprise to me. And yeah, again, try to find what it is that you like about it, and work hard, and you will be rewarded. Through social media loves that authenticity. Whether they're brands or agencies or the consumers, they love it and they want to continue to work with you. And just being independent and being able to do that has just been amazing.
So let's have a look at just I always do a quick fire round, if you don't mind, just to kind of finish up. Just one word answers, or one, can be a sentence, or you can dig deeper into it. So, hook or call to action, which is the harder part of the video to get right?
Call to action. And why? Why is that the hardest? Look, there are many hooks out there, and they all work, right? If you utilize them. Getting them to the end is the hardest part. Keeping them interested through a minute video, minute and a half, 2 minutes, and getting them to that CTA is always going to be the biggest challenge, and to get them to convert.
So quantity or quality is the TikTok shop world, in the TikTok shop world, which is the one that actually pays the bills?
On TikTok Shop, it is both, actually. On UGC Meta platforms, slowly changing, but for now, it's quality. But for TikTok Shop, again, it's absolutely both.
So, reinvention in 3 words. How would you describe your journey so far?
3 words, wow. How about 4?
Okay, 4, that's fine.
How about 5? It's
5.
the sum of my life.
Yeah.
The sum of my life.
What are they? The sum of your, yeah?
Yeah, meaning the sum of my life, meaning it's everything professionally, everything that I've done, education-wise, that I've done personally. It's everything, meeting, coming together in this, beautiful space where I can utilize everything that I've learned in my life and apply them here on social media. It's been wonderful to be able to do that.
Well, finally, what's the one bit of advice that you've taken that could have been in the corporate world or your current world that you'd want to pass on to somebody else?
Yeah, I think that have some grit. This is not an easy game. Absolutely not an easy game. and it does take a lot of work. This is not any easier. In fact, this is the hardest job I've ever had in my life. But yeah, I think that whatever you put into it, you're going to get out.
Brilliant. Well, look, Paul, thank you very much for coming on. You know, from Silicon Valley to creator economy, reinventing your career in your 50s, and it's real. It's a true story, like what our listeners love to hear. So remember, everybody, you're not finished yet. And thank you very much, Paul, for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mark. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed our talk.
Lovely. Hopefully that wasn't.
Thanks so much for listening to Not Finished Yet. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss a conversation. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. Please see the links to all our socials. Until next time, remember, you're not finished yet.